Is it better to run faster or longer? Now, if you're a relatively new runner, it can be tempting to focus on building your speed from the get-go. You know, you've worked hard at the end. You might even feel a bit of a burn. That's good, right? Well, actually, it's not quite that simple. Yes, you might see some benefits initially, but actually the best way to improve your aerobic capacity is to start gradually building up your endurance base. And once you start to improve and increase that endurance, you'll actually naturally see your speed increase too. Think of it another way. You wouldn't go to the gym for the first time and suddenly start lifting the heaviest weights. I mean, even if you could. I'd like to think we all know that's not a good idea. And running hard from the off is not too dissimilar. I like to think of it being like a pyramid. The endurance work is the strong and large foundation to your running. Once this is built up, you can then start adding the speed work at the pointy end of the pyramid. Without the base, you'll find a limit with your speed quickly, or worse, it all comes falling down. Yep, I'm afraid to say that most injuries unfortunately come from running too fast, too soon. You need to develop your aerobic and soft tissue systems before you start adding additional load, such as running fast. Now, if you're new to running, you need to learn to run first, and that requires you to build that base up at a lower pace, which typically has less impact with it, which will hopefully help to keep those injuries at bay. Okay, so what does that look like then? Well, if you haven't figured it out already, you need to slow it down. Now, I'm not going to overcomplicate this with paces or zones right now. Just make sure that you're running at a comfortable pace for you. That means that you can hold a conversation whilst running, or breathe nice and calmly, and you might be surprised just how much you do need to slow down. And once you've figured that out, now you can start to run further. However, don't increase the distance too quickly. As a general rule of thumb, never increase the distance of your runs by more than 10% at a time. And even then, don't increase them too quickly. Make sure you give yourself a number of runs at a distance before increasing it further. Stick with this method, and after a few weeks, you will start to notice a difference. Trust me, you might also start to enjoy running a little too. Running shouldn't be painful or some sort of torture you put yourself through. In fact, many people I know that run too fast, too soon, rarely stick with it for those very reasons. Okay, so let's say you have built this base. You can now run several kilometers at a consistent pace. What now? Well, you're ready to start introducing some speed work. Now, running faster is biomechanically different to running slower. And for that reason, it's really important that we introduce it slowly to avoid injury. Unfortunately, as our muscles fatigue, this is when injuries can happen. And that's why strides are a really good way of introducing speed work whilst avoiding injury. An increase of speed over a short distance, approximately 50 to 100 meters. They do not need to be an all-out maximal effort, but enough that you feel like you're pushing yourself, and you can even build into them. Now, to reduce impact further, you can even perform strides on a hill. It's obviously going to reduce your speed, reduce the impact, but you also have the added benefit of more strength and power work. Now, remember, you want to reduce your speed, you want to try and run further, and you want to improve the consistency of your running to improve your aerobic base. And with that, speed will come. Remember that pyramid that we talked about earlier on. Now, don't go too fast, too soon. If you enjoyed today's video, give it a thumbs up, give it a like. See you next time.